All right, thanks so much for joining. So today we're going to show you how you can create the Certificate of Achievement using nothing but Microsoft Word in a browser. Obviously, this is something I created for my son's soccer team, who are called the Coral Snakes. You can obviously insert any images or make any changes that you would like. I'm just going to show you how you can create this sort of general Certificate of Achievement. I do have a number of other videos on YouTube, so please feel free and browse my videos, like my videos, and or subscribe if you find this useful. All right, so let's go ahead and create this. Rather than creating sort of this border first, we're going to create the border last. And the reason we're going to do that is because when you're working with Microsoft Word, we're going to be doing a lot of text boxes and a lot of inserting. And we want to be sure that no objects are selected when we do that. And again, it'll make a little bit more sense as we go through the video. But just know that we're going to create this Certificate of Achievement, the most improved, first. And then the very last thing we're going to do is create this border. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and do File, New, Blank Documents. And we're going to click on Page Layouts. We're going to click on Orientation of Landscape and a margin of 0.5 and 0.5. Okay, so as we discussed previously, the first thing we're going to do is create this Certificate of Achievement, the most improved, and this award is dedicated to. Before we do any of that though, we're going to want this background of the soccer ball because we're going to be adding a whole bunch of text boxes on top of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to a browser. I typically use Google, and I'm just going to type in soccer ball. And we're going to go ahead and click on images, and we're just going to go ahead and take this first image. We can go ahead and click on it. And then you want to right click and do Save Picture As. And let's save this as soccerball2.png. Okay. So now we can go up to our document and we can go ahead and click on Insert Picture. And we are going to go to our desktop and we're going to find soccer and we're going to insert our soccer ball 2. Okay. Now if you try to move this image around, you can't. So what you want to do is either click on this layout options and click in front of text, or you can right click and do Wrap Text in front of text. Now you can very easily move this around. The other thing you can see is these green lines. That's when you know that image is centered. Okay. We want to actually make the soccer ball a little bit bigger before we center this. And that looks about right. Now we want to center that. Okay. The next thing we want to do is actually change this to make it more of a faded look. Okay, because we're obviously going to be putting text on top of that. So we want to go ahead and click on Picture Tools, ensure Format is selected, and then we want to click on Color, and we want to click the Wash Out Recolor. And now we can very easily put text on top of that. Okay. Next thing we want to do is insert a text box, and we want to draw a text box. And we're going to do this very large Certificate of Achievement. I can't believe I spelled that correctly the first time. And we're going to go ahead and do a couple things. Okay, so first of all, we obviously don't want this text box to be in front of the soccer ball. So we want to ensure that text box is selected, and we know it is because we see those little squares. We want to click on Format, do a Shape Fill of No Fill, and do a Shape Outline of No Outline. Now we want to go to Home and we want to center this. And we want to change the font to Certificates. If you do not know how to download and install new fonts and you do not have the certificate fonts, please watch that video. And the size of this is 65. So we're just going to click on 65. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is make this big enough. And then we want to ensure that this is centered. Here we go. And then what we want to do is click on Format, and we want to click over on the quick styles, or right next to the quick styles. We want to click on the font, and then we want to click on Transform, and we want to do Arch Up. Okay. And then from here we can use the pink line to see how the arches is going, and we can make this actually a little bit smaller, and we're going to see that that's going to sort of bring that down and around. But now we have our Certificate of Achievement. Maybe make this a little bit wider. There we go. Okay, ensure that's centered. So now we want to go ahead and do our most improved. Okay, so we're going to click outside and ensure that none of your images are selected. And we're going to go ahead and do an insert text box, draw a text box. And we're going to write most improved. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and highlight this font. We're going to ensure that that text box is selected, click on format, do a shape fill of no fill and a shape outline of no outline. Again, no fill and outline of no outline. Then we want to go to home, and the font I use is Castellar. And again, if you don't have that font, download that and install that new font. And I do have a video on how to do that. We want to make this 36 font and we want to center this. And then obviously we want to move that text box around. Okay. Now we can go ahead and hit enter to do a new line. And we're going to say, this word is presented to colon. And then obviously we want to change this font. We want to highlight this font. And we want to make this Calibri Light, and we want to make this an 18-point font, and we obviously want to spell presented to correctly. All right, now if we go back and take a look here, we want to do that line and write Cole Hall. Okay, so what we're going to do is click out and ensure nothing is actually selected, and we're going to do insert shape, and we're going to insert a line. From here, we're going to press the Shift key, and the Shift key is going to ensure no matter where you sort of move the mouse, it's going to keep that line straight. Okay, and then we want to click on Format with that line and do a shape outline of black and a shape and a weight of 1.5. Okay, then you can click on this shape and then move it till it's centered. And then we can very easily, once this shape is selected, use the arrow keys on our keyboard to move this up or down. Let's move this up a little bit. Now we want to insert a text box. You could leave that blank and write in the child's name. However, I was making this for a whole bunch of kids on my son's soccer team, and the coach kind of left it up to me. So rather than me handwriting it, because I have horrible handwriting, I decided to use a font that looks like handwriting. And the font that I use for that, and let's go ahead and center this, is Homemade Apple Pie. Again, please download that font if you like it and you want to use it. And this is a 28 point. And again, we obviously want to take that text box, click on Format. Again, ensure that text box is selected, click on the format, do a shape fill of no fill and a shape outline of no outline. Then you can select that text box and move that lettering down so it looks like it's handwritten. Okay. All right, now we want to add this bottom part of season, team, and coach. So what we can do here is we can do insert, shape, and we can go ahead and go down here. And once again, hold down the Shift key. Oops, I let go of the Shift key. But hold down the Shift key. And we can do a shape outline of black, and we can do a weight of 1 point. And we can hit Control C for copy, or right click and click copy, and then ensure that nothing is actually selected and do a paste. And then pull this down. And then we want to do, and we can ensure that these are even. And again, I'm using the arrow keys on my keyboard to move this around. And then you can once again do a right click and do a paste. And then grab this and move this down. Now the reason why we didn't want to put that original outline box first is because you need to ensure that no image is selected or no shape is selected or no text box is selected, basically no object, before you do a paste. Because if you have something selected like a text box or a shape or an image selected and you press paste, it will overwrite and paste over whatever is selected. So that's why we always want to do that border last. Okay, now let's go ahead and insert our text box, and let's draw a text box, and let's just draw a great big text box down here to make this easy. And we want to obviously format this text box, do a shape fill of no fill, and do a shape outline of no outline. And we want to go to home, and this is Calibri 14 fonts. And from here we can write season, do some tabs or some spaces, and then you could write team, do some tabs, and then you can write coach. And you can obviously play with the spacing a little bit. And actually the tabs, sometimes it's easier to do just spaces if you want to get exact. So we can go here, and I'm basically just putting in spaces to sort of center that. And then once again, I'm just using and putting in spaces. Okay. All right. Now we can go ahead and actually, let's move this season over and move this team over. There we go. Now we want to put in our insert text box, draw a text box. And once again, we want to click on formats, shape fill of no fill, shape outline of no outline. And we can go ahead and put in fall 2016, and I put in one extra L. And let's just do 2 spaces for now. Coral snakes, let's do 2 spaces for now. And the coaches be Tallaches. And again, you could always leave this blank and fill this in with your handwriting. I just happen to have horrible handwriting. All right, so I want to go up to the home button, and I want to click on, once again, Homemade Apple Pie, and this is an 18-point font, and we can make this bigger since that's kind of cut off. And then from here we can go ahead and center that fall 2016. We can center that coral snakes, and then we can center that Tallaches. Okay. Finally, the last 2 things we're going to go ahead and do is put in this coral snake and put in this certificate. Rather than showing you, because I already showed you how to download and install new fonts, and I highly doubt there's going to be many other coral snake team names in there. I already downloaded a picture of a snake. So the first thing, if you try to move this image, you obviously can't, or it's going to move things around. So what you want to do is, again, click on this little image here and do in front of text, or you could right click and do the in front of text. Now we can see that we have this white background, which we don't want. So we're going to click on the format key, and we're going to click on remove backgrounds. We're going to make the have a whole image in here, and we're going to say keep changes. Now it makes that image transparent, and we can move this around. Okay, and then finally I have this certificate of awesometicity. I actually just went online and did a search for certificate ribbon, and I clicked on images, and I basically just used one of these many ribbon images for that, and that's actually also how I found that certificate of awesometicity. I just did a Google search for, I think, certificates, sports ribbon. I can't remember exactly what I did, but you should be able to find it if you look hard enough. But basically, that's how I found. And actually, here's the exact ribbon that I used here. So rather than showing you how to download it, since I showed you how to search for it and find it, I'm just going to go ahead and insert the pictures that I already have. I'm going to insert my CL2, and I'm going to click on in front of text, and I'm going to make this just a touch smaller, and then I'm going to insert picture. And again, I found this CL3 certificate of awesometicity. I just found that online, so you can do a search, I'm sure, and find it if you want to find that exact line, and you want to do remove, or if you want to find that exact seal, you want to again click on the remove background, and then you want to say keep changes, and then you can very easily just make this smaller. And all I'm doing is holding down the left click key in order to make this smaller and larger. Holding down the left click key on this bottom of this square here, and that's how I can make that image smaller and larger. Okay. Finally, the last thing we want to do is create this border. Again, when I go through and create the other certificate for Certificate of Appreciation, I will show you how you can get sort of a little bit more ornate, but I kind of like the simplicity of this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert a shape and we're going to insert a square. We're going to click anywhere in here, and then we're going to go up to here in terms of the shape height and shape width, and we're going to make this 7.75 by 10.25. And I went to the dollar store and actually found a certificate frame, and that is what I used. And I actually measured it to see what would fit in the frame, and those are the measurements that I have. Again, whatever frame you get, you're going to want to measure and make that border around to fit the frame that you have. Okay, I'm going to do a shape fill of no fill and a shape outline of this gray. I'm also going to make the weight of this a 6 point, and I'm going to change the lines. I'm going to click on more lines, and I'm going to, click on compound line and make this thick, thin. Okay, so now you have that. And then finally, we're going to add in this additional little detail of the squares. And basically all you do is you click on Insert, Shape, and we're going to make the height 0.25 and the width 0.25. And we're going to do a shape fill of that same gray color, and we're going to do a shape outline of that same gray color. We're going to do a weight of that of 3 for the border. Again, the shape outline is 3 of that same gray, and we're going to once again do a compound line of double. Okay. From here, we're going to go ahead and click Copy. We're going to ensure nothing else is selected, and we're going to go Paste, Paste. Oops, we don't want to paste inside of the image. And then we're going to do Paste. And we're going to ensure nothing is selected, and we're going to do a paste. Again, you want to ensure that nothing is selected when you do the paste, because a lot of times it will override it. And basically you just move these squares around the edges, and you're done. And again, you can ensure the image is selected and then use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move this image around. Okay. And it is as simple as that. And then finally, and that is it. That is how you can very easily create the certificate of achievement. And obviously, again, make any changes that you want. You could also take sort of this image and move the certificate over a little bit if you wanted. And you can make any sort of changes or modifications. But I hope you found this useful. If you did, please like my video on YouTube and watch any of my other videos as well. Subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for joining.